I just bought this stock before earnings, and if I'm reading this correctly, this has a huge, massive upside potential that you do not want to miss out on. In this video, I'm going to break down the ticker that I bought, why I bought it, the fundamentals that most traders are overlooking, and the technical setup and the price targets so you can make money as well too. All right, let's start with the fundamentals in the ticker, and that is TMDX. TMDX is a ticker that we got into it back in October 13th, which is about 7 days before, as of right now. Which, FYI, if you're thinking that it's too late to get into this, it's actually not. And I'm going to show you why, based on the fundamental right now, from here until the next 6 to 12 months, why you want to be in this ticker. Okay, this stock right now released earnings yesterday after hours, and they dropped, but it actually recovered very nicely and actually proved the point again why the stock in the company is going to go up higher in valuation. So here is what we're seeing. But when we got into this trade, we actually liked the fundamentals from the get-go, which this was going to be their lowest EPS quarter year to date. And from what we saw, it didn't make sense for the stock to be valued any lower below $100 or even below $120 for the current valuation that it was going to report. Why? Because the quarter over quarter was going to be a loss, right? Q2 of 2025 was better than Q3 of this previous quarter, but their year over year was actually superior, which is what we like to see, right? We want to see growth. This is the main driver for any given stock is there EPS growth in earnings? And there are three things that you have to pay attention to. Well, two, and then the same apply to revenue. So one, when you're looking at EPS, you have to ask yourself, is the quarter over quarter EPS going to be greater, right? So in this case, for this last quarter, it wasn't. But the next quarter that's coming up, which is what we're excited about in the next 2 quarters here, Q1 of 2026 and Q2 of 2026, is that this quarter over quarter is going to be greater. And then also the next follow-up question is EPS going to be greater than year over year? In this case, Q4 of 2025 is estimated of 0.41. It's going to be far greater than the 0.19 that they reported last Q4 of 2024, right? So this kind of reporting is exactly what we want to see, and it's exactly why we bought into TMDX in the first place. Now, the next thing comes into play. What does their upcoming quarters look like in growth? We like finding stocks that are going to grow quarter over quarter because it makes it easy to just buy and hold, essentially, right? And so in their last earnings report, which was yesterday, they also increased guidance, which is a really, really good thing. Okay. So with that said, they did really well. They beat EPS by 83%. They increased their guidance. That already checks that one box of fundamentals. We like that stock. Awesome. The next fundamentals, why we entered. Now, once we realized that EPS growth, back in October 13, we noticed that there was a good amount of volume coming into the stock and heading towards this 120 area. Let me see. This is the weekly. Here we go. So October 13th was back here. Okay. Now it was building a base, but confirmation, this was an early entry. Okay. Based on, again, EPS fundamentals. What gave us even more conviction about the stock was when it started to get above 120, which is tried to do here on October 21st, October 22nd, 21st, the 20th, and then it definitely confirmed it here on the 23rd. This was a positive for us because P-Trans, this 120 is what we call P-Trans in the private Telegram group. All this means is that it's the start of a bullish sentiment for this security. Okay, so for TMDX in this case. So how do I find P-Trans? Well, this is where our tool Gextron comes into play. Gextron is our tool of choice here when we're trying to figure out entries, key levels, and price targets, like future price targets. Everything about Gextron is forward-looking. It's making projections. It's never looking backwards. It's not looking at what happened yesterday or an hour ago. It's always taking into consideration what's going to happen in the future based on the option premium and the option transactions that are coming in the market as of right now. Okay, so yes, these levels are not fixed. They're not static, they're actually dynamic. They change throughout the day, which is really good and is exactly what you want to use when the market is dynamic. It's not static. So I need to know when P-trans changes, because then maybe I need to change my thesis on TMDX. But as of right now, 120 is still P-trans level. So like I said, how do I know what P-trans is in this chart? Well, the rule of thumb that we have inside the private Telegram group is really, really simple, right? When it's above P-trans, it's our signal to, okay, we need to look into the stock to potentially get in now. P-trans is the first positive bar, and the next three bars to the right have to be positive. If P-trans was 190 and then 95 and 100 were negative, like that doesn't count. So in this case, it's 120 and then 1, 2, 3 are the next positive. So 120 is that first positive bar in its P-trans level. And that data has not changed since the day that we entered. So with now that we're above it, we now have potential to potentially get a max reward in the next 1 to 4 weeks here of 160 on the stock, which gives us about an additional 18% move to the upside. Now, that's how we figure out key levels. That's how we figure out entries. Now, when it comes to projections, future price projections, there's two things I like to do. I'm going to give you more of the macro outlook first, and what we would like, what would be the ideal, and then I'm going to give you the realistic, what Gextron is telling us for projections. Now, let's go to the charts here. I'm going to scope out the 1 month because we are trading shares. We're trading the stock, the equity on this, because there's no good options that are liquid as of right now for TMDX. So we're going to trade the shares, and it's perfectly fine because this could be a potential 100% upside move. Now, what I like about this ticker from this type of macro outlook basic market structure is the expansions of the bull side. So anytime it's going out for a breakout, you can see here it's actually moved about 88% here in the past in 4 bars, right? So 4 months, 4 to 6 months. Okay, that's great. So if that's the type of expansion that we can expect, what can we expect here in the next 4 months? Let's say the expansion is starting here. In the next 4 bars, which will be by February, we could potentially expect about an 80, let's be modest and say 80% growth. Okay. So the stock would be somewhere around $240 as of where it's at the moment, which is really good upside potential. Now, this can go higher especially as there's more growth in the company, the EPS stays the same, guidance either increases or remains the same, which is really, really good. The next thing, the other reason why we believe that it deserves to go higher is because if we ever look at the past, I like to look at how did stocks perform in past valuations based on their EPS. At their all-time high of 177.37, their EPS was reported at 35. Okay. And we just reported, or at least TMDX stock just reported at 6.66. That is far superior. That is 83% higher than what was reported back in July of 2024. So it doesn't make sense fundamentally for the stock to be valued at 134 when it performed at 177 with a much lower EPS. In theory, based on fundamentals and EPS, it should be higher. Okay, doesn't mean it's going to happen right now or in the next month or two. We're actually projecting this in the next, again, 3 to 4 or 5 months. And in the upcoming year, we expect this to go even higher to 250, maybe even 280, depending on again, the growth of the stock. It really just depends on this EPS. Now, that's the ideal scenario. But as traders, we have to be realistic, right? We have to figure out also what is the option premium telling us, because the option market actually has a huge influence on the stock itself. Okay, so that's where Gextron comes into play. And Gextron is really simple to use. Since everything's forward looking, all I have to do is I just let it do all the calculations, and it gives me price targets. So if I look at this real quick, and I like to figure out what is the quarterly move for TMDX. What can I expect from here until the next earnings day? Which, if we take a look at this, it's going to be March 4th. Now, the March 4th contract does not exist here yet. March expiration doesn't exist. So we have to find the next closest expiration, which in this case is definitely not January. It's going to be April. It's a little bit, it's past March, but whenever March expiration comes, we'll just readjust, and that's okay. But as of right now, it's telling us it's going to be around the top target is going to be 187.59. And what I like to do, and what you should do as well too, is mark these levels if you're going to be trading TMDX with me. Okay. So 187.27 is what I had just this morning. And so now I can expect the price to go to this direction here in the next 3 months, which is again about 38, maybe 40% upside movement from where the price is currently at to getting close to their earnings date. Okay, so that's the quarterly price target. Now, what I like to do as well too is figure out the end of the year target, which I have this marked here, which you might want to mark it as well too, which is 170.39. These are kind of significant. These are all significant price targets that I do on all the stocks that I'm trading, because I need to figure out what are realistic price targets. I gave you my ideal price target, but we have to be more realistic, and that's where kind of Gastron kind of humbles us down a little bit more, gives us like, hey, that's awesome, but you got to be more realistic. So as of right now, I like to figure out the January contracts, the first expiration, which is the January 16th expiration. It's 170.13. I marked it originally at 170.39. And so that is my end of the year target. When price gets to this, I may end up trimming some of my position, but I may end up holding for longer periods of time, because again, I'm looking at this at a bigger scale. This is just the short term from here until January and then to the quarter. Okay. That is the price target. That is the entry. So if you want to enter now, here is what I would recommend, so you can make money as well too. Right now, get the stock. Okay, trade the stock. P-trans level, mark P-trans level, which is 120. If you want to keep it up to date with the levels of like when does bullish sentiment end and begin, or it might like change or whatever, there's a private Telegram group that I'm always updating. You can check that out. But it's mark 120, 130, 140, 150 level, 160, and then mark these targets. Okay, and just watch how price reacts. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions about this stock or how we do EPS or whatever, I'll put a couple links down below for you to check out. And if you have any questions, put a comment down below, and I will see you on the next one.